Welcome to Matters Financial and Geopolitical from a Frontier. Welcome. Appreciate it. Macro thoughts. Fixed volatility index is up for the seventh day in a row. That was through yesterday, the longest run of daily increases for 3 years. I think this goes back to the point I was making about Donald Trump on the 19th of September when I said the second thing to observe is that event risk surely favors Trump. I was envisaging a sort of terrorist attack. The FBI has been the equivalent for Trump. I think the volatility increase is being caused by the same statement I made on the 19th of September when I said, now where will the world be in the event of a President Trump? Who really knows or can predict that, I said. And I think that's why we've seen this pickup in volatility across the markets. The Mexican Peso was already in the midst of a long grind of weakness long before Trump started talking about the wall. David Inglis, but this is the sort of Trump proxy. And then have a look at this from David Inglis, Fixed Market Fear Index up for a seventh day. There was no change in the Fed funds rate yesterday. Have a look at the long-term profile of that Fed funds rate curve, and you'll notice we're at an egregious level. The odds of a December rate hike are seen in this tweet from Bloomberg. Home thoughts. I'm interviewing David Campese tomorrow and Bob Collymore, separately, of course. David Campese been having a bit of fun here in Kenya, and I'm looking forward to speaking to him about rugby union, his career, other bits of advice he can offer to sports people. I like this photograph, snooped in on a flamingo party in Lake Magadi, Peter's size 10. Magadi is a wonderful place, 110 kilometers from Nairobi. And you drive right along the lip of the Rift Valley. It's absolutely beautiful. Then you descend to below sea level where Lake Magadi is. Soldiers secure an area in view of the Aurora Borealis during night live fire training at Fort Greely in Alaska. Attractive photograph. Chicago Cubs, they have won the World Series. The Wrigley Field marquee looked beautiful. And they won it 8-7 against the Indians, breaking a losing streak that ran for many years. My brother lives just around the corner from Wrigley Field in Chicago. Political reflections. Hillary Clinton's grip on the US presidential election has weakened with less than a week left on the clock. That's a fact. And WikiLeaks said Clinton campaign chairman advised to dump all those emails, and the problem essentially is that the emails seem to be more emails on Viner's computer than were given up from Hillary, and therefore I suspect this is going to be highly problematical. You could not make this story up. Anthony Weiner checks into a sex addiction rehab clinic, and you just couldn't make this up, could you? Interesting chap on Twitter called Hector Marenko, who's been tweeting a lot of information which was in the public domain, kind of, but always sort of poo-pooed as a conspiracy theory. But have a look at his Twitter handle. All of this could end, he says, in a political crisis of a magnitude never seen in the history of the modern world. I like this from LA Review of Books. Did she know he was there? Did she feel him invading her space? President Assad, I'm just a headline. The bad president, the bad guy who's killing good guys. You know this narrative. The US Embassy in Seoul wrote a cable in 2007 released by WikiLeaks that Park's opponents characterized Choi Tae-min as a Korean Rasputin. And rumors arrived that the late pastor had complete control over Park's body and soul during her formative years, and that his children accumulated enormous wealth as a result, no doubt. US Embassy in Seoul wrote a cable in 2007. Xi Jinping may be the core leader of China, but he's still really nervous. International markets, dollar yen had a big move, broke 103, we're back at 103, just below it right now. Currency markets, euro dollar 110.93, dollar index 97.19, Japanese yen 102.99, Swiss franc 0.9708. I haven't had a chance to check that. The pound had a big move here, 124.11 last Aussie, 0.7671. India rupee 66.695, South Korean won 11.3930, the Real 325.26, Egyptian pound, well, they've floated that. So there's been a big move there, and the Rand 13.4351, and that's strengthening in line with Gordon's gains. Euro dollar, let me put up a 3-month chart. I think it's acting a bit like gold, flight to safety. Commodity markets, gold 1292, having crossed 1300. I said 1300 was resistance, but if we get Trump in, I think we're going to 1400. Oil fading fast. Brent oil down 12% in the last 2 weeks. US crude down 13%, although getting a little bit of a bounce this morning. US crude oil stocks rose last week 14.4 million barrels, the biggest weekly increase since at least 1982. Let's move on to Africa. South Africa's Jacob Zuma report points to possible corruption. Put up a photograph of the South African president. Having this report in black and white from a source like the Public Protector is the final straw in the curtailment of the Zuma era. He's had 9 lives. He might have had his last. South Africa's day of rage against Zuma's thousands march for him to step down. This is the Africa report. South African oil shares down 0.61% this year. South African Rand has hit a 2-month high since the release of that Gupta report. The Rand is firming because Pravin Gordhan has captured the South African president. Put up a 6-month chart of the dollar rand, and you can see this is all related to the political scenario that's developing. President under pressure, Gordhan on the front foot. Egyptian EGX30, which was already up 21.68% year to date, has surged on the devaluation news. Click on that link, EGX30, to check what it's been doing, but I remember at one point it was up about 8 to 10%. Nigerian oil share down 4.95%, but given that Egypt is devalued, they're going to have to, I think Nigeria will be next. Ghana Stock Exchange Composite Index down 14.12% this year. Mozambique overtakes Venezuela as world's riskiest nation. Mozambique has overtaken Venezuela as the world's riskiest issuer of dollar-denominated bonds. The southern African country told investors on October 24th they needed to restructure its commercial debt, sending yields on its 2023 Eurobonds soaring above 900 basis points to 24.5%. Holders of the securities have lost 24 cents in the dollar. There was an FT Mozambique conference happening yesterday. I'll just give you some tweets. IMF resident representative in Mozambique says he hopes a new program can be in place by the end of Q1 2017. If the gas happens, we'll become Angola. If it doesn't, we'll become Zimbabwe. DP World is considering new investments in Mozambique. That's all port related, which is also the Japanese strategy. I'm sure DP World will be calling up Japan. My piece over the weekend was Mozambique from boom to bust, a cautionary tale. I said we visited in 2012, and I recall the wife being seriously astonished when we jumped in a taxi and the driver turned out to be Portuguese. I said Mozambique could be the next Qatar as we stuffed ourselves with wonderfully flavoursome tiger prawns. Africa Confidential reported that Chancellor Angela Merkel asked President Nyusi when he met her in Berlin on 19th April 2016, where is the money? And also, are you in charge? Finance Minister Adriano Maliene had already told investors on October 25 that the country was in debt distress. It's about $3 billion that are offside. All is not lost, it's a short-term crunch. Let me put up a photograph of Maputo from the sea. IMF said on Wednesday Rwanda's economy was forecast to grow at 6.2% in 2017. I listened to Dr. Mwangi on the live feed as he released the Q3 earnings, equities earnings, and the quote that got my attention was, "The customer has declared the branch dead." I call this a Schumpeter moment for banking a while ago, and I think he's just reiterating that point of fact. Schumpeter said the gale of creative destruction describes the process of industrial mutation that incessantly revolutionizes the economic structure from within, incessantly destroying the old one, incessantly creating a new one. The gale of creative destruction blew through the banking sector. Uchumi's results will be delayed over change of auditors. They've received permission from the CMA. Have a look at the share price data. Naivas is to spend 470 million shillings on expansion, buying a Nakuru rival. They're playing offense while most of the others are playing defense. Nairobi All Share down 5.072% this year. Nairobi NSE 20 down 19.89% this year, so marginally off a bear market. And finally, let me leave you with a photograph of a splendid view across the Indian Ocean from Fort Jesus, Mombasa. Once again, thank you for stopping by.